He closed the panel quickly, his hands shaking. I don't know much about the tenants. Why? Is something wrong? Adam paused, debating how much to reveal. We've noticed unusual things, noises. It seems like someone might have been living here without our knowledge. Oh, the realtor's voice grew cautious. There were some odd complaints. One of the previous families mentioned noises in the walls and things going missing. Nothing major, just little items like utensils or books. They thought it was kids being careless. The owner dismissed it as an old house creaking. The words sent a chill down Adam's spine. An old house creaking didn't explain the makeshift nest or Henry's terror. As he hung up the phone, Adam realized one thing for certain. They weren't alone in this house. And whoever or whatever was still here, it wasn't gone yet. Explain. Emily's heart shattered as she pulled Henry into a tight embrace, murmuring softly against his trembling frame. Nothing's going to hurt her. I promise. But Henry shook H. It was barely audible, but unmistakable. A soft shuffling noise, followed by silence. Henry whispered almost inaudibly, "It's back." Adam's stomach churned. He forced himself to remain quiet, retreating to his room without revealing that he had been watching. He lay awake for the rest of the night, the sound replaying in his mind like a haunting melody. The next morning, Adam decided to act. While Emily was busy with Charlotte, he slipped into the nursery and began inspecting the walls. At first glance, everything seemed normal, painted plaster and smooth corners. But as he knelt by the crib, his hand brushed against something unusual. A faint seam ran along the base of the wall, almost invisible unless you were looking for it. Adam leaned closer and pressed against the seam. The panel shifted slightly. His pulse quickened as he fetched a flashlight and pried the panel open, revealing a narrow opening just large enough for someone to crawl through. Inside the cavity, the beam of his flat, Adam couldn't let go of the nagging suspicion that there was more to uncover. The hidden panel in the nursery was troubling enough, but Henry's insistence that he's still here weighed heavily on his mind. The next morning, after dropping Henry off at school, Adam called the realtor who had sold them the house. I need to know about the previous owners, Adam said, his voice tight with urgency. The realtor hesitated. Well, the house had been a rental property for a long time before the owners sold it to you. I don't know much about the tenants. Why? Is something wrong? Adam paused, debating how much to reveal. We've noticed unusual things, noises. It seems like someone might have been living here without our knowledge. Oh, the realtor's voice grew cautious. There were some odd complaints. One of the previous families mentioned noises in the walls and things going missing. Nothing major. Just little items like utensils or books. They thought it was kids being careless. The owner sent a chill down Adam's spine, and no one investigated further. The realtor gave an awkward laugh. Not that I know of. Look, these older homes always have quirks. I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation. Adam didn't respond. He hung up and stared at his phone for a long moment, his unease deepening. That afternoon, Adam found himself watching Henry more closely. The boy had grown more withdrawn, his nervous energy filling the house like static electricity. Every time Emily left the room with Charlotte, Henry's gaze followed her, his little face tight with worry. Dad, Henry said that evening as they sat at the dinner table, his voice unusually serious. Don't let Charlotte stay in her room alone, not ever. Adam put down his fork, exchanging a glance with Emily. Why do you say that, buddy? Because he's still there. Henry whispered, his voice trembling. And he's waiting. Adam's stomach twisted, but he forced a calm expression. We've closed it up, Henry. No one can get in. Henry shook his head. That's not enough. That night. Charlotte, tightening. What are you saying, Adam, that someone's in her room? Adam nodded slowly. I found a hidden panel in the nursery. It leads to a small space behind the wall. Someone's been living there. I sealed it up, but I don't think they've left. Emily's breath caught and she instinctively drew Charlotte closer. You've known this for how long? I found it a few days ago, Adam admitted. I didn't want to scare you until I was sure. Emily's voice rose, her fear spilling into anger. You didn't want to scare me, Adam. There's a stranger in our house. You should have told me the second you found it. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, Adam said defensively. I thought maybe it was old abandoned. Emily shook her head, her face pale with panic. We need to call the police now. Adam hesitated, running a hand through his hair. What if we're overreacting? What if it really is just old noise or something settling? Emily glared at him, her eyes blazing. Overreacting, Adam. Our daughter is in danger. Our son has been terrified. Let them in too often, officers. Their hands on their holstered weapons quickly began searching the house. A third officer stayed with the family, asking them questions about what had happened. It didn't take long for the officers to find the tunnel. Adam led them to the nursery, explaining what he had discovered earlier that day. One of the officers climbed into the opening, returning several minutes later with a grim expression. There's no one here now, he said, but it's clear someone's been living down there. This isn't new. There are signs they've been here for a long time. Emily paled, clutching Charlotte tighter. What kind of signs? The officer hesitated. Personal items, food wrappers. There's even a mattress. Whoever it is, they've been using this place as a hideout. Did you check the basement? Adam asked. The officer nodded. We didn't find anyone. If they were here, they're long gone. The police promised to keep investigating, but the family's sense of safety was shattered that night. They stayed at a nearby inn. They sat in their motel room, the children asleep in the adjoining room. I can't live there anymore. Not after this. Adam nodded slowly. I know, but who would buy it after hearing this? Emily looked at him, her eyes hollow. Then we tear it down. The search for Eric continued, but he seemed to have vanished. Adam and Emily took solace in the increased security measures, but neither could shake the lingering fear that he was still nearby, watching and waiting. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of wind outside set their nerves on edge. Henry remained quiet, though he seemed. Lighter now that the truth was out, Emily noticed him watching over Charlotte less obsessively, though he still insisted on checking on her at night, just to be sure. He told Emily one evening, his small face solemn. You're such a good brother, Emily whispered, kissing his forehead. We're so proud of you. But as Henry lay in bed that night, his gaze lingered on the SE, feeling his thoughts troubled. He couldn't tell his parents everything. Now they were safe. In the weeks following the harrowing ordeal, Adam and Emily couldn't stop thinking about how it all began. The signs had been there, glaringly obvious. Henry's insistence on staying in Charlotte's room, his fear of leaving her alone, his whispered warnings about something being in the walls. He knew, Emily realized one evening as she and Adam sat together in the living room, the house quiet around them. Henry knew something was wrong, Emily said softly, her voice heavy with regret. And we brushed it off. We told ourselves he was just being a kid. Adam nodded, guilt pressing down on his chest like a stone. He was trying to tell us, and we didn't listen. If we had, maybe we could have stopped this sooner. But he didn't give up, Emily added, a small smile breaking through despite the weight of her words. Even when we didn't take him seriously, he kept protecting her. He was braver than we were. That realization shifted something deep within them, reshaping. You kept her safe. The ordeal brought the family closer in ways they hadn't anticipated. Henry and Charlotte's bond, already strong, grew even deeper. Henry continued to check on her every night, though now it was less out of fear and more out of love. Charlotte, too young to understand what had happened, lit up whenever her brother was near, her giggles filling the house with a sense of peace. For Adam and Emily, the experience was a stark reminder of the importance of trusting their children's instincts. They began to listen more attentively, taking Henry's concerns seriously, no matter how small they might seem. One evening, as the family sat together on the couch, Henry cradling Charlotte on his lap, Emily looked around the room and felt a swell of gratitude. "We've been through a lot," she said, her voice soft but steady, "but we're stronger for it." Adam nodded, his arm around her shoulders. "We are, and we'll never let anything like that happen again." Henry looked up, his ex. The house was quiet around them, a stark contrast to the chaos that had once filled it. Henry knew something was wrong, and we brushed it off. We told ourselves he was just being a kid. Adam nodded, guilt pressing down on his chest like an invisible weight. He was trying to tell us, and we didn't listen. If we had, maybe we could have stopped this sooner. But he didn't give up, Emily added softly, a small smile breaking through despite the heaviness of her words. Even when we didn't take him seriously, he kept protecting her. He was braver than we were. That realization shifted something deep within them, reshaping how they approached their roles as parents. Emily began carving out more one-on-one time with Henry, creating a safe space where he felt comfortable sharing his thoughts and feelings. They played games, took long walks, and talked about everything, from his favorite books to his worries. One afternoon, as they sat together in the park, Emily asked gently, "The possibilities you seek already exist within your spiritual DNA. Nothing holds you back except your perception. It's time to step into your divine power and manifest the life you've always dreamed of." Say it with me. I am manifesting heaven on earth. Comment below and declare it for yourself. To support this journey, I've created something extraordinary, a tool called the Second Mind, designed to rewire your brain. It helps you stay aligned with a state of infinite possibility. Most people operate from patterns rooted in the past, which block their ability to create the future they truly desire. But when you train your mind to live from a celestial state, anything becomes possible. Already, over 100,000 individuals worldwide have transformed their lives using this tool, and you can try it for free by clicking the link below. The Second Mind keeps you anchored in that elevated state, enabling you to continuously manifest your dreams. Trust me, just as your biological DNA shapes. One night, As Emily leaned down to kiss Henry's forehead, he stopped her with a quiet declaration. "I'm not scared anymore, Mum." Emily froze, her hand resting lightly on the edge of his blanket. "You're not?" she asked, her voice soft with surprise. Henry shook his head, his small face solemn but resolute. "Because I know you and Dad will always protect us. And if anything bad comes again, I'll protect Charlotte too." Emily's heart swelled with pride, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes. She brushed a strand of hair from his face and whispered, "You already did, sweetheart. You were so brave." Adam, too, found himself reflecting on the ordeal that had shaken their family to its core. The guilt of not acting sooner still lingered, heavy in the recesses of his mind. But he channeled it into action. He worked tirelessly to make their home not just a fortress for physical safety, but a sanctuary for emotional security as well. He became the first to ask questions, to check in on Hen, to check in on Hen, to check in on Hen, to check in on Hen.